Hi everyone, welcome to the Witching Week. Today is episode 102. Today we're going to be looking at an oracle deck that I received over the Yule period. We're going to be looking at storm magic and we're going to be taking a look at Imbolc, seeing as it's only just over a week away. So grab a cup of tea, put some incense on, get comfy and we'll explore the Witching Week. Hi everyone, thank you for being here, thank you for watching. How are you doing? Welcome back. It's just still so lovely to be back here. We've done episode 100, 101 and today 102. The time is flying past so quickly, it's absolutely crazy. How are you doing? If you were here last week, then thank you for watching. I'm on focus today. I definitely need some of that. This has got mango, pineapple and ginseng in it, and today we are burning some positive vibes. There's a range within the Satya range, so this is one of them where they've all got like pastel colours. So you've got like meditation, I think one is called Zen vibes, I think, and then this one positive vibes, and I think they're possibly becoming my favourite out of the Satya ones to burn, minus the patchouli forest of course. But anyway, how are you all doing? I've noticed that many of you are wintering and you've slowed right down, which is just the natural way of things at this time of year, and it's good to see you all honouring your bodies and honouring your minds. And I just know that it's quite a difficult time of year for a lot of people. It is cold, it is dark, it's damp. There isn't really much inspiration to get out and do things at the moment. I, however, am feeling unusually perky. I must say, I'm feeling really, really enthusiastic this year, which is lovely. I mean, I'm an enthusiastic person, but there's just something different about this year. I feel a lot lighter. How has your week been? What have you been up to? Has it been good? Has it been completely pants? Let me know in the comments. We went wassailing last Saturday. We went to our local wassail and it was very, very cold. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was extremely cold last year as well. I think it was probably colder last year, to be honest, but it was very cold. I was quite tired. We didn't end up doing the second half of it. So ours is split into kind of two halves. They have the wassail, and then you walk up to the church and they have some bell ringing. So we didn't stay for that bit. We went to the pub because they have a drink there as well, and it was so packed. We just didn't feel like being in there with all the coughs and colds and flus that are going around at the moment. So we went in and then we left and we just went home. I was pretty tired. So we're definitely still getting in the swing after the Christmas period, the Yule period. I don't feel like my brain has woken up. I still feel like I'm very, very slow. Like I haven't quite got into the sort of the pace of things yet, but I think everyone is feeling the same, so I'm not worrying about it too much. No January blues. I'm not sure that I ever really get those, but I definitely have found in the last 5 or 6 years this part of the year to just be really, really awful. But not this year, and it's gone quickly. I know we've still got a week left, but usually January feels like it's 8,367 days long, doesn't it? And I haven't felt that this year, probably because I'm busy and there's so much to do, and I've always got appointments and stuff that I need sorting out, loads of life admin this month. So yeah, it's quite strange to think that we've got Imbolc hitting us in just over a week's time, a week tomorrow. It's on Saturday, isn't it? Yeah, so as you can tell, I've not got any plans in place yet, but we have got a big storm hitting us today, apparently. Storm Eowyn. I think Ireland are going to get the brunt of it. Apparently, it's like the biggest Atlantic storm that we have ever had here in the UK. The likely central pressure is going to be 932 MB. I don't know what the MB stands for. Yeah, what does that stand for? I should probably know this. But anyway, it's going to make it the biggest, deepest Atlantic storm to move into the UK in sort of, you know, the time that we've been keeping records. So, but the trouble is, I keep seeing all these warnings, and it's obviously really important to take notice of warnings, but it was only, I think 2 weeks ago, they were saying that we were going to have like 2 feet of snow, and that didn't happen for us. Okay, it did happen for some areas, but it wasn't as bad as they predicted. We just had a dusting, but it was like nothing to write home about, and yet I was supposed to be in the red area. And I know it's really difficult. I know it's weather. I know it's difficult to predict, but and they obviously can see there's this massive storm on their charts and their graphs. But yeah, I think the trouble is when they do get it wrong, which is, you know, through no fault of their own, they're trying to predict something that's fairly unpredictable. I think then we don't sort of pay attention as much. But yeah, we've got this huge storm hitting us. It's not here yet. But I thought we'd talk about storm magic off the back of that. So lots of witches really, really like storm magic. They use it in lots of different ways. But the main sort of theory behind storm magic is that the air is charged, and witches can use this electrical charge like a battery. So they can connect to the actual storm and they can use that energy in their spells and workings. But also some witches believe that they can actually have an influence on that storm. So once they've connected with it, they can encourage the winds to pick up or drop off. They can use that energy and they can channel that energy. And I was thinking about storms. They're brilliant because they contain all the elements, really, don't they? They whip up, they hold water from the earth, for a start. And if you're a witch who stood on the earth, who's connecting with it, there's that earth element, and it affects the earth, and it's a part of the earth and the atmosphere and the conditions that are created above the earth. And then you have the winds, so we've got air there, so we might have really, really fast and strong winds, or we might have a gentle breeze. We have fire, we have an electrical charge, don't we? We have lightning, so there is that link as well. And then we have water, and we have rain, and then we have obviously the impact on the sea, tidal areas, perhaps even lakes and rivers and things like that. Certainly when we have lots of heavy rain, that has a knock-on effect on all the rivers and things. And then we have spirit even. I don't know about you, but when we have a storm, I'll feel the charged sort of air. I'll feel that. I feel empowered. I feel the you know, the atmosphere and the pressure and what's going on above me is actually having an impact on my body. So we have all of the elements there, including spirit. And we can tap into using the storm in other ways. So for example, we can collect storm water. So in the same way that we might make moon water or sun water, we can collect water from a storm, or we can put a jar of water out and allow that to be charged by the atmosphere, perhaps even by a full moon during a storm. There's lots of different ways we can tap into the energy of the storm. And of course, the feeling of the storm, the energy of the storm will change dependent on what's happening. So if you're wondering what I mean by that, for example, a snowstorm, I actually think has the ability to be quite calm and quite serene and quite peaceful. So even though you might have heavy snow falling, that is a completely different experience to that falling as heavy rain. I actually feel that's a really, really comforting and beautiful scenario. So you would use that energy of the storm and how it's manifesting energetically in your witchcraft work. So I'd love to know, do you work with storms? How do you feel about them? I know that some people are very scared of them. We don't really, well, generally speaking, we don't really have to be too scared of storms here in the UK, but of course we do have the odd hurricane, and there have been times when obviously, you know, there people have risked their lives or have lost their lives as a result of storms. But generally speaking, when I say we don't need to be afraid of storms here, I'm talking in comparison to other places like the US, so I know have very, very extreme weather sometimes, a lot more extreme than we have in the UK. I do actually have a friend who's absolutely terrified of storms, thunder, lightning, the whole works really, and her mum was very, very scared, so she grew up experiencing her mum's fear, and therefore she's absolutely terrified. But I absolutely love storms. I love a good storm. I love a thunderstorm. I love the thunder. I love the lightning. It makes me think of Riders on the Storm by The Doors. And when I think of storms, I tend to think back of my experiences as a child. So the night before I think it was my 9th birthday, I'm pretty sure it was my 9th, it could have been my 10th actually, because that seems like more of a significant number, and I seem to think it was a significant birthday, but anyway, it was 9 or 10, and there was a storm that raged for hours and was overhead. So I knew how to count from your flash to your bang. I knew, or is it the other way around? I can't remember, my brain's not working today. But anyway, I knew the storm was very, very close. It was over our heads, and I needed to go to the toilet, and I was really scared, and I was like looking at the flashes of light on the wall, and I was trying to time it because I didn't want to get out of bed because I was scared. But it never put me off, weirdly. It wasn't a traumatic experience, and I still love storms to this day, but that was the only time that I remember being scared of a storm. And that's, I remember that all these years later, it had a significant impact on me. Sorry, there's a gardener just come in, if you heard that. Yeah, I'll never forget that. And then when we were kids as well, my mum used to get us out in electrical storms in the summer in our bathing suits. We had a water butt down by the house, and my mum used to get us to get buckets and take the water up to the old cherry tree at the top of the garden, which was on a bit of a slope, but she used to get us to water the tree, so by putting the buckets of water around the base. And I look back now and just think, oh my goodness, we were out there in the wet, but I suppose the chances of being hit by lightning are fairly small. But we also had this large swimming pool, so it's not a permanent structure. It was one of these ones that you put up with a metal ring, and then a liner goes in it, and then a little track across the top to keep the liner in. Still a big thing back then. I think we got it secondhand from somewhere, and it held a lot of water. It was a big pool. We had a big garden. We were very lucky growing up. My mum and dad worked really, really hard. But we used to be out on that as well, in like full-on electrical storms. There was a lot of us being outside in electrical storms when we were kids. But yeah, obviously no harm came to us, but I would not recommend it. But yeah, let's see what happens. Hopefully everyone will stay safe and well. I'm a bit concerned about our roof. We've got a few tiles anyway that need putting back into place in awkward areas that we've not managed to do so far. And put your crystals out. You can charge your crystals in the sort of storm atmosphere. Put them on the windowsill like you do when you're charging them in the moon, and let them soak up the storm energies. So yeah, I thought we'd talk about Imbolc next. We're just over a week away, a week tomorrow, which just seems absolutely crazy to me. The time from the winter solstice to Imbolc has gone just so quickly. And it's a real turning point as far as I'm concerned. It means we're on the countdown to the spring equinox. And at the spring equinox, once we've gone just a minute past that moment of equinox, we have entered the period in which we will have more hours of light than we will have darkness. And for me, that is a real celebratory moment. We've made it, and I think when we get to Imbolc, we can kind of celebrate the fact that we've made it. The promise of light that was made at the winter solstice is much more apparent at Imbolc, and even just today, I noticed this morning it was lighter earlier. So we're entering the growth period of the year, the time when we're much more productive as animals, as human beings. We're starting to get a bit of vitamin D from the sun. It's not going to happen just yet. It's usually March to September is really when we get our main amount of vitamin D from the sun. Over the winter, we just don't get any, and most of the northern hemisphere are considered to be deficient. So come September, usually I feel absolutely amazing, and I know it's that vitamin D, and from a tablet it's just not the same. I really would love to go away somewhere hot and sunny each winter just to top up those levels. I think it's a really, really good idea. But it's quite difficult to get your head around the fact that we're here, nearly at Imbolc already, and the winter solstice was the point at which we had the least amount of light. That just seems so strange to me, that we'll then be on the countdown to the point at which we have more light in the 24 hours than we do darkness. But there is a long way to go until we're at the point of maximum light. So it kind of feels like it's over very quickly. I feel like the dark part of the year actually stands out a lot longer, it feels, than the light part of the year. But I don't know, I felt very, very differently about the winter this year. So perhaps the lighter half of the year is going to feel different to me this year. But I have to say, it can only be you guys, but in particular my Patreon, which has helped with this. I think because I've had just so much of a focus, obviously on the Witching Week, we're going through the Wheel of the Year, and I'm celebrating that with you, and I'm sort of observing that with you. But I think because I've had such a focus on the Wheel of the Year, and I've been working ahead a lot of the time, so even though I've got physically into the winter at some point, I'm working ahead. I'm working, 1, 2, 3 months ahead. And so I've kind of entered the lighter half of the year in my head and in my brain, and in terms of where I've been thinking, actually quicker than my physical body. And I think this has really helped. And just having a community of people to chat about this with, it's a bit different on Patreon to Instagram and YouTube and things like that, because you can actually sort of chat a little bit more easily. It's an enclosed space. It's kind of like an online moot is how I describe it. But yeah, it's given me so much focus. So thank you. If you watch these YouTube videos or you're on Patreon combined, it's really made such a difference to my year. So thank you so much. And let's all just have a really, really good countdown to spring. I know that there's been things going on in the world that have really rattled and shaken people that are quite worrying. I know there's a lot going on at the moment, and I know things are really bleak. It's still really expensive to live, especially here in the UK. Times are really, really hard, just all round really. But let's just all stick together as a community. I think that's the main thing, and support each other and encourage each other. And hopefully, even though it all feels a bit gloomy and like, we're about to meet our impending doom, let's just see, we might have a fantastic year. We don't know, but like I said, I am feeling unusually perky and enthusiastic and excited at the moment. I don't know what's wrong with me. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm a super positive person, but I just haven't, I haven't woken up. My brain is still clearly in hibernation mode, but there's just something very, very different this year. And I felt super positive last year, but I don't know, maybe it's just me being me and I've forgotten, but I don't know. I've got a good feeling. So yeah, we have been talking actually on Patreon about our favourite Sabbats. I did a poll because it helps me to understand, and obviously understand where I need to put my energies on Patreon and the things that people enjoy. But I'd love to hear what you think. Let me know in the comments, even if you've commented over on my Patreon, let me know in the comments what your favourite Sabbat is, so that we can all see here. I'll be really, really interested. I wouldn't be surprised if the way things are split mirror the percentage that we've had over on Patreon. But let's have a look and see what your favourite Sabbats are. I would absolutely love to know. And I'm guessing you'll all be getting in your gardens soon. And even if you're watching this from the southern hemisphere, so I'm not just talking about the weather warming up and it being easier to do that, but I guess if you're in the southern hemisphere, I'm hoping that your weather is cooling down a little bit so that you can enjoy them as well. I know that many of you love being outside, but it can just get a little bit too hot and a bit too humid. We don't have a garden here, we just have pots. So I can grow things in pots, and then we just have lots of bodies with headstones. So yeah, but there are things I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to seeing, and I'm not just in the graveyard, but everywhere. I'm looking forward to blossom on trees. I'm looking forward to seeing cyclamen. I've seen a few of those out flowering, tend to be in people's gardens, but you do get the odd one here and there. I am looking forward to seeing daffodils. I love the snowdrops at this time of year. I have seen a few of those out. I am looking forward to, what else? Oh yeah, lesser celandine. So those are out at the moment. They're one of our first sort of flowering plants as we come out of the winter into the spring. They're lovely yellow colour. And I was telling my friend about these because there is some outside the old smithy, and I said to her that I call them the shopkeeper because they open and close with the sun, and at the moment that means that they're sort of opening up around about 9 o'clock in the morning, and then they're well and truly shut as we're getting to sort of 4:30, 5 o'clock. So yeah, I've given them the name the shopkeeper, which I've called them that for a few years now, and they're just lovely. They symbolise, I think, hope and dreams and tenacity, because obviously they've survived the winter frost. They are associated with protection, apparently. I think of abundance when I think of anything that's sort of yellow or flowering or a flower, and they are apparently associated, can't talk today, with receiving justice. So if you are going to court, apparently celandine or lesser celandine can help you sort of move things in your favour. So I think that means whether you should be in trouble or not. But anyway, they were apparently Wordsworth's favourite flowers. Despite his famous association with daffodils, it was the lesser celandine that were his favourite, apparently. And there shouldn't be confusion though between, there's actually two plants that have the name celandine in their name. I'm totally struggling today. I'm so sorry. Let's take a deep breath. So there's lesser celandine, and then there's celandine or greater celandine, and they are different plants. They're not related. But apparently, so we'll move on to greater celandine now. Apparently there is an old charm that if you carried celandine with the heart of a mole, you would vanquish your enemies. I sometimes I get a bit stumped by these old sort of folk charms and this old sort of like Warcraft type stuff, because you think, where do you get this from? And what happens if you don't know your plants and you use lesser celandine instead? Does that still work? Please do not be attacking any of our moles for their hearts. Leave them be, leave our wildlife be. I can't imagine anyone would be stupid enough to try any of these sorts of old charms. As wonderful and as fantastical and as kind of charming as they are, they don't apply anymore, do they? But the lovely yellow colour of both the celandines is associated with the solar plexus, and apparently witches, not that I'm ever sure that many people would have called themselves that years and years ago, but anyway, just go with it. If witches were to carry greater celandine in a red bag around their neck, it would stop them from being detected and imprisoned, apparently. And another bit of old folklore was that if you scrubbed your floor with a greater celandine infused water, it would drive other witches or just witches away from that particular building in your home. So yeah, I thought we'd cover lesser celandine because I do love it. It's one of my favourite plants. What are your favourite flowers, or your favourite spring flowers in particular? I would love to hear. So I thought I'd give you guys a little update on Patreon. Most of the people on my Patreon come via YouTube. I thought I'd let you know what we're up to in case you're interested. So kind of going back to plants, we have got a month in March packed full of plant related stuff, herbs, herbal magic, and that is going to roll into April as well. I'm obviously jumping the gun there, but I just wanted to sort of link that. But February, we are doing lots of personal rites and rituals. So we have been studying the mechanics of magic, finding a witchcraft path, all of that stuff. And now we are sort of looking at getting started in terms of things like self-dedication, information about covens. I'll be including that in my Hexerai video at the end of this month, January. We're going to be looking at magical names, magical name activation, all that kind of stuff, dedicating robes and jewellery, and there's rituals to go with these topics. So if that is something that sounds good to you, the actual nuts and bolts of how you do this stuff, then come and join me over on Patreon and my lovely community. There's nearly, I think, 300 posts on there now. We have had an absolutely brilliant year. We've had so much fun, and there's loads of good stuff coming up. So yeah, if you would like to join a classroom area where you can just learn from the privacy of your own home, you don't have to get involved in the community, in the chat groups, but it is lovely if you decide to do that. So yeah, come and say hi to us. So I wanted to show you something that I got actually over the Yule period. I got this as part of a, you'd call it a secret Santa, but we call it a secret sister. I'm in a sisterhood group, and I got this lovely Goddess Oracle deck, which is really, really beautiful, and it just feels like the right time of year to have received it. I think I'm going to be using this a lot this year. It is by Katja Perez, and it says empowering rituals to channel your inner goddess. It comes with a little book, as oracle decks generally do. It's in a nice little box, and there are these gorgeous cards, and I'll show you that one. And she is Amaterasu, and she says, I'm a being of light and love. And you go through, there's lots of goddesses in here. There's Artemis, there's Arianod, there's Bridget, there's Demeter, there's all sorts. There's Lakshmi, Isis, there's some Aztec goddesses that I cannot pronounce, I'm sorry about that, but they're absolutely lovely. And they each have a little phrase at the bottom. This one says, each new cycle of life brings hope and adventure, and then there's a little bit of information about them in the book. So yeah, really, really nice, really lovely gift. So I thought I would show those on the Witching Week, and if you bought me those, there's a chance that you might be watching, just want to say thank you ever so much. They're really, really beautiful, and I'm just starting to delve into those, and yeah, they're absolutely gorgeous. Thank you. Apparently Bridget, she had red hair. The story goes, I don't know if this is the official story because I don't actually know too much about Bridget other than about her associations with Imbolc and her connection with sacred wells and being the goddess of fire and healing. But apparently she emerged when the sun was about to rise, which is why she had flame red hair, and she was generous, but she didn't suffer fools. So there were two beggars that came to her healing well in Ireland. They visited her holy well. There was a kind leper and a crafty thief who used to manipulate and get away with all sorts of naughty things. So Bridget, being the generous and very astute and clever lady that she was, she healed the kind man's leprosy, and then she rewarded the thief's false words with it. So yeah, they both learned a lesson that day, in particular the crafty thief. And then she returned to the earth, ready to be reborn in the spring as it turns into summer. And I thought that was a really, really lovely story. I'd love to know, do you have a favourite goddess or god or deity? We will be doing a module on deity sometime in the next few months, probably as we sort of start to edge towards the summer. Over on Patreon we'll be learning all about deity, how to connect, how to interact with deity and incorporate that into your witchcraft practice. So I'm going to leave it there for today. We're going to do some cards, but I can barely string my words together, so I think it's time to wrap up today's episode of the Witching Week. How are you doing? I guess doing it on a Friday, it is the point at which everybody's brains are a bit fried, but it's nice having the Witching Week at the end of the week because it is about the week and what goes on and what happens and the news and the views. Right, let's pull some cards for your week ahead. Okay, we're going with 4 cards today. We've got the Chariot, we've got the 6 of Cups, we've got the 7 of Cups, and we have got the 6 of Pentacles. So we've got, what have we got? We've got 2 6s and 2 7s. Sorry, that is my stomach rumbling. I'm hungry, I've not eaten today, so my stomach is trying to remind me. So the thing I want to say to you today with these cards is don't worry about the bumps in the road. Don't worry, don't spend time and energy fretting that you are going down the wrong route. Just trust the process. Trust the process, trust the universe, trust in yourself. More importantly, you are the master of your destiny. Yes, you get to decide, do I go that way? Do I go that way? But ultimately, I truly believe that we end up exactly where we're supposed to be. And I always fall back on the Chariot card when I'm finding times really, really tough. And I just remind myself that I have the ability to steer my own life in the right direction. And that sometimes we have to go through certain things for our higher good, for our sort of our higher learning. And, you know, to get to that point in life where we're all much wiser. So one thing that's going to help propel you forwards this week is actually by moving backwards. So what I mean by that is maybe taking a little trip down memory lane. Perhaps you've got some kind of event coming up, maybe a family get together or gathering, hopefully for a good reason, not a bad reason like a funeral, but going backwards and taking a little look at our lives and working out why we got here, how we got here, and taking a little look at the person we've developed into, and just taking a little look at some of the memories of the past can actually be really, really life affirming and can actually really help move us forwards. So if that is an option for you this week, then grab that with both hands. If you've got a chance to see family that you've not seen in a long time, then absolutely go for that. Be careful though, the problem with taking a step down or trip down memory lane is that sometimes you can fall into sort of like wishful thinking. So when you go to the past and then you come back and then you start to look at the future, there's that tendency to look back a little bit with rose tinted glasses and then apply that to things moving forwards and just starting to sort of feel a bit differently about things. You're in control of your life, you're in control of your thoughts and feelings. Take a trip down memory lane, but just stay in control. Bring yourself back to the present moment. Don't get carried away with this. Don't go too far in the past and don't go too far in the future. This is an exercise of being in the present and just sort of affirming and reflecting on where you're at now in relation to those things, and then everything will work out absolutely fine and you'll be able to continue, I think, sharing your time, your energy, your money, even a little bit with other people. Look at this as an act of self-care. Look at this as an act of compassion for yourself, so that then you can continue to make the journey forwards. So if that comes up for you this week, I hope you enjoy that. I love a trip down memory lane, and I think I do that most when I'm hanging out with my cousin. Who is, I always say he's my brother. He's not my cousin, he's my brother. But yeah, we always have a bit of a trip down memory lane in terms of, like, I don't know about him, but I feel like a 7 or 8 year old again, and he just makes me laugh so much, and that is always so good for the soul, and it always just resets me, and then it always just gives me a little bit of an oomph, and then I can continue being the person that I need to be, and then I worry a little bit less about the journey of life and the bumps and the stony bits, you know, in journey's wheels, you know, in the chariot on the way. So yeah, take a trip down memory lane, but remember to come back to the present and not to indulge in wishful thinking as a result, and it will be of great benefit to you. Right then, I am wishing you a lovely week. Have a fantastic week. We will be moving towards more light here in the Northern Hemisphere, here in the UK. If you're in the Southern Hemisphere, I hope you're doing all right and you're not too hot. I know you've still had really, really hot temperatures in some places. Hopefully you'll be getting cooler weather soon so you can get out and enjoy. And yeah, let's see what this next week brings. I hope you have a wonderful week. I'm sending you all my love and blessings for a fabulous week, and I'll be back next Friday with 103. All right, take care for now. Bye.